Welcome to hashtag Go Right, where we explore the latest currents in politics with a clear-eyed perspective rooted in liberty and conservative values, or at least constitutional values. Today, we dive into an unusual twist that brings together both political strategy and the supernatural. It seems the 2024 election isn't just a clash of politics or a contest of personalities. It's shaping up, at least in some corners of the internet, to be a full-blown battle of good versus evil, even though there's mixed feelings on what's good and evil. There's a balance between the garden of good and evil, as that old movie said. In an odd intersection of politics and mysticism, a group of self-described Reddit witches has gained attention for their claims of attempting to cast spells on former President Donald Trump, only to find themselves thwarted by what they describe as a mysterious protection around him. It's possible the MAGA witches, there's good witches and bad witches. These internet witches have been airing their frustrations over their perceived inability to cast harmful hexes, suggesting some powerful force may be shielding Trump from their efforts. I'd go with Jesus. These conversations have stirred intense speculation online. The notion of protection has resonated with certain groups, including faith-based supporters of Trump, who recently launched a campaign urging prayers for the nation's leaders. Catholics for Catholics even set up billboards and invoked Saint Michael the Archangel, known as the defender against evil forces. Trump himself has shared the prayer on his social media, reaffirming his alignment with the values of faith and resilience in the face of adversity. This story weaves a strange but telling narrative as we head closer to Election Day. Folks, have you voted? Have you voted? Because you need to go vote. From policy debates over Project 2025 to prayerful appeals to the country's spiritual state, the stakes in this election seem higher than ever. So join us as we unpack this and more hashtag Go Right, where we champion free speech, constitutional principles, and a grounded conservative vision for America's future. We'll be right back. Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
Time to go right. Time to go right. Time to go right.
Welcome to hashtag Go Right, where we cut through the noise to bring you the truth about the policies, cultural wars, and issues shaping our country's future. I'm your host, Peter Boykin. I'm a constitutionalist for liberty, and today we're diving into a mix of revealing stats and headlines that expose the high stakes of the 2024 election. This campaign spending this cycle has been historic, with Vice President Kamala, I don't know how you pronounce her name anymore, Harris, fighting to maintain her party's foothold. She has funneled a massive $1.1 billion into ad spending since just July, a staggering sum that speaks volumes about the urgency Democrats are feeling in this race. They're facing increasing challenges, and they know that ad dollars are crucial to shoring up support across swing states. But the real question is, will it pay off? Meanwhile, Trump's support among historically Democrat voting groups is climbing. Polls show that 48% of Latino men and 39% of Black men now view Trump favorably, a striking shift that could reshape the electoral map if it holds through November. These numbers point to a profound rethinking happening among American voters. Many, especially in minority communities, are showing increased support for Trump's policies on economic growth, job creation, and law enforcement policies, and they see as aligned with their needs and values. In many ways, these shifts reveal a realignment with American politics. With new coalitions emerging, people are voting less on party lines and more on who can deliver real results that benefit their communities. As we dig into these issues today, we'll be asking the big questions. Can an unprecedented ad blitz sustain Democratic momentum? Will Trump's appeal to diverse voters groups flip key states? And ultimately, what kind of leadership will best hold the liberties and constitutional values that are a part and a heart of this republic? Join us here on hashtag Go Right as we dive into these critical dynamics. This election isn't just another chapter. It's a pivotal moment in our nation's story. So let's get into it and uncover what's really driving America forward.
I have known Donald Trump for 45 years. He is precisely the man we need. He already goes down in history as among our greatest presidents, giving us the most robust economy in our history, rebuilding our military strength, appointing scores of conservatives who believe in the Constitution to the courts, and restoring respect and, yes, indeed, fear to our enemies around the world.
Let's start with some hashtag Go Right headline breakdowns before we get to the main articles. So let's start with Louisiana. Louisiana sues Biden-Harris administration over public health risks. Louisiana officials have filed a lawsuit against the Biden-Harris administration following reports that a Chinese migrant who recently entered the U.S. illegally may have exposed hundreds of people to a highly contagious and deadly strain of tuberculosis, TB. The state argues that federal negligence in border management has directly endangered public health and criticizes the administration's handling of public health protocols during the migrants' processing. Louisiana's legal team is pushing for enhanced health screenings and stricter protocols to prevent similar risks in the future. I mean, with that, there's also this E. coli bacteria thing going around in like McDonald's. They think they don't know if it's the quarter pounders. They don't know if it's the onions. But where do you get that from? E. coli has really come, if it's got to do with the onions and the vegetables, it comes with probably these migrants who have not, usually sometimes they have been known to use the bathroom in the fields, and then people don't wash the vegetables off, and then we get E. coli, and here you go. Meanwhile, North Korea sends troops to Russia, raising international concerns. The U.S. has confirmed that North Korea recently deployed thousands of soldiers to Russia, a development that has raised red flags among international observers. The troops, reportedly sent under the guise of labor support, are suspected to have strategic intentions aligned with Russia's defensive operations. This move strengthens the ties between Pyongyang and Moscow and escalates regional tensions, especially for U.S. allies in South Korea and Japan, who now face an increasingly volatile North Pacific landscape. The deployment has prompted the U.S. to reassess its military posture and engagement in the region. Dare I say World War III? And who's to blame for that? Meanwhile, the UK Center for Countering Digital Hate targets Musk's platform, which is X. Internal documents obtained by journalist Matt Tabai reveal that the UK-based nonprofit, the Center for Countering Digital Hate, CCDH, allegedly intends to dismantle Musk's platform X, formerly Twitter. CCDH's stated mission involved curbing hate speech online, but critics argue that its approach infringes on free speech by censoring or deplatforming users. The document suggests that CCDH has been pursuing strategies to influence government policies in the US and UK to undermine the platform's reputation, adding a layer of complexity to ongoing debates about tech regulation and censorship. Moving on, Kamala Harris is accused of plagiarism in 2007 congressional testimony. A recently conducted review has found that Vice President Kamala Harris allegedly plagiarized portion of her 2007 congressional testimony when she served as California's Attorney General. The report indicates that she included passengers and statements from other sources without attribution and even presented a fictional story about human trafficking as a real account. The findings call into question the integrity of her past statements and could have political repercussions as critics highlight these incidents as examples of misleading behavior in her official capacity. I think that's way more important than Trump's Hitler. Trump's Hitler. Meanwhile, easier grading scale for illegal alien students spark debate in Ohio. A school in Springfield, Ohio, the place where they like to eat cats and dogs, has implemented a justice grading scale specifically for undocumented students, which effectively prevents them from failing. Too good to fail, right? School administrations argue that the modified scale helps students facing language barriers and educational disruption, but critics say it undermines academic standards and is unfair to other students held to a higher standards. The debate has sparked wider discussions about educational equity and the challenges of integrating undocumented students into the U.S. education system. Meanwhile, 6 non-citizens are indicted for illegal voting in Ohio. Ohio officials have indicted 6 non-citizens for illegal participating in the U.S. elections, an issue that has reignited the conversation over election security and voter integrity. According to the indictment, the individuals cast ballots in past elections, sparking concern among lawmakers and the public about the reliability of voter rolls and the need for improved identity verification services and processes. IDs when you go vote. State officials are calling for stricter registration protocols to safeguard against future cases of non-citizen voting. Again, people ask why we do it in North Carolina, but we have a constitutional amendment on our voting on should we make sure that non-citizens are not allowed to vote in elections, which is a gimme and already supposed to be federal law. But we're going to make sure we have it in our North Carolina Constitution and double down on it. Meanwhile, U.S. Space Force monitors satellite debris after Boeing malfunction, probably felled together by tinfoil and glue. The U.S. Space Force is actively tracking debris from a Boeing-manufactured satellite that exploded following an unexpected anomaly. This incident underscores the ongoing risk of orbital debris because literally it's a whole trash pile just falling around our all over the place up there, which can threaten both military and civilian satellites and all people, civilians. Yeah. Boeing and the Space Force are working to investigate the cause of the malfunction as it takes preventative steps to address the potential dangers of space debris, which has become an increased concern given the rising number of satellites in Earth's orbit and junk. It's a literally trash pile up there. Meanwhile, Nate Silver predicts a Trump victory in 2024 election. Nate Silver, the prominent statistician and former 538 analyst, has projected a likely victory for former President Donald Trump in the upcoming November election. Silver's prediction is based on current polling data, voter enthusiasm, and Democratic trends showing Trump gaining traction with key voter groups, including working class and minority communities. Silver's forecast has added fuel to discussion about Trump's resilience as a candidate and the potential for a political comeback that could reshape the nation's political landscape, hopefully for the better. And all I keep hearing on TV is these fake-ass commercials from Kamala Harris. I will help the middle class, and I'm going to do this, and please elect me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nobody's buying it, lady. Meanwhile, massive lithium reserves discovered in southwestern Arkansas. Cue the tornado, a hurricane toward Arkansas. A new study from the U.S. Geological Survey has uncovered significant lithium deposits in southwestern Arkansas, a discovery that could play a major role in meeting the surging demand for lithium, essential for electric vehicle EV batteries. This discovery positions the U.S. to reduce reliance on foreign lithium imports, particularly from China, while bolstering its capacity for EV production. The discovery may also stimulate job growth and economic development in Arkansas as the nation works to secure its energy independence and lead in clean energy technology. That's just a rundown of some of the great things that might develop in the bigger stories. We'll be right back with our main articles. Thank you for tuning in to #GoRight with Peter Boykin.
Well, it's very possible that they rig it. I saw some whistleblower today
Yes.
talking about Venezuela not just having a gang problem, but being a gang. Like the Venezuelan government is a gang.
Is a gang.
And they developed the machines, coincidentally. Mm-hmm. And he was saying,
Right.
yeah, these machines have been fucked for a long
It's
time.
been debunked.
Yeah.
They just say debunked and have no proof or like how? Give me the literature that I need to read to go, oh, I guess it was debunked. They just say
Right.
it.
And even right-wing media will say I forget the exact verbiage they use, but like the uninformed lie or the much debunked myth or the totally unverified
big
claim,
lie,
or they have all these adjectives before it where they call it a lie.
And what disproved it? When they ask Vance, will you say that the 2020 election wasn't stolen from Trump? And he doesn't, and they go, look at him, he won't. Yeah. Because show me one thing. How do you know? How the fuck do you know?
Yeah.
Show me something where I could go, wow, that is unequivocal proof that it wasn't stolen and it was legitimate.
Welcome back. So the Biden-Harris administration is reportedly turning up the heat on Elon Musk after he announced a $1 million incentive aimed at encouraging Americans to get involved in civic engagement. Now, remember, we already talked about how Bill Gates was giving millions of dollars directly and a PAC to help Kamala. So what's the problem with Elon Musk helping Trump? Now, Musk, who has been outspoken about free speech and individual liberties, launched a campaign that promised significant financial rewards to registered voters who sign a petition in support of the U.S. Constitution, aiming to amplify pro-liberty voices as Election Day approaches. Now, the incentive program is like this. Musk's incentive is simple. American citizens registered to vote are eligible for a chance to win substantial financial rewards by affirming their support for the Constitution. The campaign's intention is not to back any particular candidate, but to inspire more Americans to reflect upon and reaffirm the values and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution, values that Musk has repeatedly said he believes are under threat. Now, there's the threat of prosecution. In response, the Biden-Harris administration allegedly issued warnings hinting that Musk's campaign could result in criminal charges. The Justice Department is reportedly investigating whether Musk's incentive program violates campaign finance laws, a move critics claim is intended to suppress voter turnout initiatives that don't align with the administration's interests. Supporters of Musk argue that this move represents an overreach by the administration and the attack on lawful efforts to promote civic engagement. Meanwhile, free speech and civic engagement is in the crosshairs. For Musk, this confrontation with the administration is only the latest chapter in his battle with federal agencies over his attempt to use his platforms and resources to support free speech and what he sees as genuine American values. Previously, Musk has openly criticized the administration's attempts to regulate social media platforms and control disclosure, particularly on X, where he actively engages with millions of users. It's okay when the liberals are doing it, or the left was doing it, and it was okay when the Biden administration was forcing hand and paying Facebook and Zuckerberg to suppress our free speech and break our Constitution. But oh my God, Musk supporting free speech. Oh God, we got to do something about that. This controversy has implications beyond Musk's personal campaign, signaling a broader clash between those who advocate for an open, participatory democratic process and governor officials who fear these methods could destabilize their narrative or influence. To many constitutionalists, this investigation feels like an unjustified reaction against a simple civic effort, a signal that the federal government is willing to wield power against anyone who challenges its stance on, quote, acceptable voter engagement. As Election Day approaches, this development underscores the high stakes of the 2024 election and the ideological battles at play, with forces on both sides vying to shape not just policy, but the very nature of civic engagement and free expression in America. Now, here on #GoRight, we'll keep a very close eye on this story and continue providing updates to empower our listeners with the information they need to understand the broader implications for liberty and democracy or republic or whatever we want to call it in our country. We'll be right back with our main article.
Now you have General Kelly. This is not the first lie General Kelly's made, but let's start from the beginning. He's known for 5 years that Trump referenced or praised Adolf Hitler, and he's just decided to reveal this 2 weeks before the election? Sure, right, not believable. This is the same General Kelly who made up the canard, the lie, that Trump referred to veterans who had given their lives in their service to the country as suckers and losers. There are 19 or 20 other people present when this is allegedly said, and nobody recalls the president saying it because he didn't. What is Mr. Kelly's motive? He was fired. He was fired for incompetence. He was fired for insubordination. He was a neocon. He did not follow or like the president's America First agenda. He sought to dilute it or delay it or cancel it at every turn. He also leaked like a sieve, and he was canned. And only after he was fired did he decide to go public with all these claims.
The deep state coordinates an October surprise attack on Donald Trump. As the 2024 election day approaches, the political establishment, often referred to as the deep state, has ramped up its campaign against Donald Trump in its classic October surprise. With Trump leading in key battleground states, we're witnessing a coordinated attempt to paint him as a danger to democracy. One of the latest salvos, a piece by The Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, which alleges Trump praised Hitler and degraded U.S. service members. I know in a previous podcast, we talked about how Kamala Harris came out and said, Donald Trump is literally Hitler. Well, let's talk more about it. Unpacking the claims. Goldberg's article claims that Trump made offensive remarks about the funeral cost of Vanessa Guillén, a young Army private who was tragically killed by a fellow soldier. According to anonymous sources, always those anonymous sources, Trump reportedly questioned the expenses at her funeral, allegedly saying it doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a effing Mexican. However, this accusation was swiftly refuted by Julian's own sister, Mira, who responded on social media platform X. See why they want to take X away from us? She blasted the claim, calling it hurtful and disrespectful, political exploitation of her sister's death. Myra further clarified that Trump had shown only respect for her family and even mentioned she had voted for him. Now, Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, also debunked the claim, affirming that he was also part of the discussions and the accusations were absolutely false. So that leads to more allegations and responses. The article also accuses Trump of making statements admiring Hitler's loyal generals, allegedly saying, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. It even quotes former chief of staff John Kelly, freaking liar, claiming that Trump had remarked Hitler did some good things. But those allegations, too, were countered. Nick Ayers, a chief of staff of Vice President Mike Pence, refuted Kelly's statements, describing them as patently false and calling for an honest account of events. Ayers' rebuttal highlights how the story appears to be another piece of political arsenal against Donald Trump with little confirmed evidence. I mean, it's Russiagate, it's the PP tapes, it's the, it's Ukraine Gate. It's all the crap that they try to impeach Trump on 2 or 3 times on. Just BS, made up junk, fake news, AI driven. I mean, really. Type in AI, create a political thing against Donald Trump or whatever, pop out some crap for you. Now, the political machine in motion. This story's release was almost immediately echoed by Vice President Kamala Harris, who held a press conference to address the claims, calling them deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous. We showed those clips on yesterday's podcast. I urge you to go back and check it out. Harris's rapid response raised questions about potential coordination between the media and her campaign to amplify the allegations and shape the narrative. Now, the source, Jeffrey Goldberg, is no stranger to controversy. His track record includes backing major narratives, like the alleged connection between Saddam Hussein and the 9/11 attacks and the push for the weapons of mass destruction justification for the Iraq War. Most recently, he has been criticized for his role in promoting the discredited Russiagate narrative. Many suggest that Goldberg's repeated involvement in these deep state narratives is no coincidence, especially when it comes to taking down a disruptive figure like Donald Trump. Now, what I'm trying to figure out, how is this guy able to be involved in media, keep pushing out these damning lies over and over again, causing problems, but yet somebody like Alex Jones, he's wearing a tinfoil hat. He gets charged for saying, I don't think the, whatever the hell he was talking about, Sandy Hook wasn't real or some bull crap, And he gets everything thrown at him and has to basically lose his whole livelihood. Or Giuliani, we talked about that, losing all his money and everything, and other people losing all their money and losing their livelihoods for talking about the 2020 election. But yet this Jeffrey Goldberg can do whatever the hell he wants, apparently. Now let's talk about the whole picture. Political commentator and former Fox News host Megyn Kelly summed up the atmosphere on X, stating, quote, "Their closing message is all about Trump and Hitler, all recycled. Can you imagine how alarming their internal polls are?" The surge in these narratives highlights a final push by the establishment to shake confidence in Trump as support swells among Americans who prioritize constitutional values and national sovereignty over party lines. Now, why does this matter? These events serve as a reminder of the stakes in the 2024 election. As the media, political insiders, and establishment forces double down against Donald Trump, voters are left to discern the truth from narratives that are all too familiar. Now, at the end of the day, stories like these underscore a deep distrust between many Americans and the institutional powers working to shape public opinion. And here on #GoRight with me, Peter Boykin, we're here to give you the context and the facts so you can make your own informed decisions. I always tell you when I'm slanted, a little bit biased, but I'm also the first one to say, hey, I got something wrong, or hey, I'm looking more into this. That's why there's usually a little bit of delay when I give you the news, because I want to get a full picture. We'll be right back with our #GoRight recap. Thank you for tuning in, and please share this podcast to your friends. Follow all the social medias. Donate if you can. Help us out. God bless everybody. We'll be right back.
They're trying to take down Musk, silence and the spark. $1 million for the Constitution, now they're in the dark. Louisiana's rising, defending the line. With open doors and illnesses, we're towing a fine. Mama's tales, they're both from the past, and yet they spent it fast, hoping we'll pass from North Korea's forces to rumors out loud. The truth stands tall when GoRight News shouts proud. Oh, constitutionalists for America, we hold the line. For freedom's voice, we march toe to toe each time. From the lies and the twisted truths they spin to divide, we're bound to the spirit of freedom, can't hide. North Korea marching troops to a foreign land. Russia's waiting arms are stretching out a hand. Meanwhile, the Space Force fights the debris of satellites lost in the stars we can't see. In Ohio, non-citizens cast votes out of line. Illegal grades make the curve just fine. We're shouting from the rooftops, let freedom ring. With GoRight News, we'll keep it going. We're not backing down, no, we're just getting started. Truth's own defenders, united and guarded. From Arkansas's lithium to voters who fight, this is the anthem of those who know their rights. October surprise, they're calling Trump names. The deep state's got moves in their endless game. But with voices like ours and Patriot song, we'll keep on fighting, we'll keep marching strong. wrong. Nate Silver says it, and polls don't lie. There's a rising storm for Trump on high. Megan sees the writing is plain and clear. We stand with the truth, constitutionalists here. Whoa, so constitutionalists, we're here unite. For America's freedom, we're ready to fight. With Go Right News by our side, we're strong, marching to the beat of a patriot song. Whoa!
Welcome back to our hashtag Go Right Recap. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, folks, please share this podcast. Please follow this podcast. I rerun this podcast and other podcasts on a daily basis. So if people didn't miss it, I post it on Facebook. I post it on Rumble. I post it on TikTok. It gets posted probably on Instagram and some other places and Twitter. I try to put it out there. It's not a numbers game on money, anything. I'm not making any.
Let's be very clear, because I think this has to be said. This whole idea that Trump's supporters are going to become violent is a canard. It's a fraud. That is not what we intend. It's not what we advocate. It's not what we're going to do. But they want to get you to convince. They want to convince people that we act violently, so that when they crush us, we had to respond to the violence that Trump's supporters fostered. No, it's an entirely false narrative. This is where, Alex, you are absolutely right. They're building this up. Trump's supporters are going to be violent. No, we're not. You are the violent ones. You are the ones that have used violence in the past, and you intend to use it again.